Dante's Boxing Nation, what's going on, guys? You know, the great brown bomber Joe Louis, he famously said, he can run, but he can't hide. Unfortunately, today, fighters are able to do both. Just ask Guillermo Rigondeaux. Now, just imagine if the two best basketball teams in the country were the Cleveland Cavaliers and Golden State Warriors. But the Golden State Warriors, they decided not to play against the Cavaliers in the finals in fear of losing to them. So they decide to play against a lesser team that's lesser of a threat. And now the Cleveland Cavaliers, they're sitting on the bench trying to figure out why they're not playing in the finals. This is pretty much what we get in boxing all the time. You have two of the best fighters in a division, and it's always one fighter, or in this situation, multiple fighters, that basically turns down the finals and decides to go another route. That is exactly what Leo Santa Cruz and Carl Frampton did when it comes to avoiding the most feared, the most dangerous fighter in the sport of boxing, Guillermo Rigondeaux. Matter of fact, this man Guillermo Rigo is so damn dangerous. For those of you guys who know, he just broke Jazza Dickens' jaw with one single left hand. You know, it's crazy because I googled Rigo's name, and soon as you type in Rigondeaux, this is what you see right here. Nothing but countless articles of Rigo breaking a man's jaw with one punch. This is how dangerous this man Guillermo Rigondeaux is. I mean, if we call Sergey Kovalev the Crusher, then maybe we should start calling Guillermo Rigondeaux the Jaw Crusher or the Jaw Breaker. So anyway, Carl Frampton, who was actually supposed to fight Guillermo Rigondeaux next at 122, he decided to pull a Canelo Alvarez and vacate his belt and move up to fight against a Leo Santa Cruz. Leo Santa Cruz did the same thing when he was at 122. Leo Santa Cruz, he made about 5 or 10 different excuses why he didn't want to fight Guillermo Rigondeaux. At one point he said he wanted $3 million. The next minute he said Rigo wasn't a big enough name. He just made all different type of excuses why he didn't want to fight this man. And then at the end of the day, he decided not to fight him at all, and he moved up to 126. Now I know some of you guys are going to say, hey Dante, well that's different that Carl Frampton, he vacated his belt to move up to a higher weight class as opposed to Canelo Alvarez. You know, he went up in weight, vacated his belt, then moved back down in weight. I think when it comes to Carl Frampton's situation, in contrast to Canelo Alvarez's situation, clearly Frampton had far more respect for Guillermo Rigondeaux than Canelo did for Golovkin. I say that because Carl Frampton, he had an opportunity to catch a pound-for-pound Pokemon, if you will. If you guys understand that analogy, what that basically means is, for the fighters out there that want to prove that they're the best fighter in the world pound for pound, you normally have to beat a fighter on that top 5, top 10 list when it comes to pound for pound fighters, right? Carl Frampton, he was one of the rare fighters that had one of those pound for pound fighters in his own division. He decided to avoid a pound for pound top 5 fighter, avoid him and move up to a higher weight class and fight against a guy who wasn't even considered top 10 pound for pound, one of the best fighters in the world. That shows an enormous amount of respect for the boogeyman, Guillermo Rigondeaux. So anyway, as you guys know by now, Carl Frampton, he put on a great performance this past weekend and defeated the former undefeated Leo Santa Cruz. Soon as Carl Frampton beat Leo Santa Cruz, the boogeyman popped up and he called out Carl Frampton. Not only did he call out Carl Frampton, but he said, man, I will come to your hometown and fight you. And of course, there has been no response from Carl Frampton. You know, it's really sad when you think about the fact, once again, you have a fighter who's considered pound for pound, top 5, one of the best fighters in the world. It's not going to be too much of a problem when it comes to negotiating a fight. You know, Guillermo Rigondeaux, he's not going to have some ridiculous stipulations. All he wants to do is prove that he's the best fighter in the world. There's not going to be any money issues. He's not going to turn down Olympic-style drug testing. He's not going to say the fight has to be in Miami, Florida, or in Cuba. Guillermo Rigondeaux is more easygoing when it comes to negotiating than any other fighter that Carl Frampton is going to sit down and negotiate with. But it doesn't matter, because fighters are looking at Guillermo Rigondeaux like he's Mike Tyson 2.0. Mike Tyson in his prime, vintage Tyson. This is how a lot of boxers perceive Guillermo Rigondeaux, the jawbreaker, right? And I tell you right now, fighters like Carl Frampton and Leo Santa Cruz, their names will forever be linked to avoiding Guillermo Rigondeaux. I'll tell you that right now. But at the same time, there are other fighters out there that they also have to worry about, because see, while they're trying to avoid fighters like Guillermo Rigondeaux, they also have to worry about the best featherweight in the division right now, and that's Gary Russell Jr. And I say he's the best because I'm picking Gary Russell Jr. to beat everyone at the featherweight division. I believe Gary Russell is just that good. So with fighters like Guillermo Rigondeaux, Gary Russell Jr. coming after you, it'll be pretty difficult to avoid both of those lions. Let's see if Carl Frampton can do it. You know, I ran into a boxing fan that I was talking to this past weekend at the Nevada Boxing Hall of Fame, and he was telling me, he was saying, yeah, Dante, I don't understand why it is, you know, these boxing fans, they hate on fighters like Ward, they hate on fighters like Guillermo Rigondeaux. And by the way, this guy, he wasn't black, and I'll just leave it at that. But he was basically, you know, speaking in code words, because what he was really trying to say to me is these fans are racist. But you know, a lot of fans, they don't feel comfortable using the R word. So they beat around the bush and they try to say it in a politically correct way. And when they do that, I just come flat out and I just say it. Man, let's just call it what it is. It is not a coincidence that all these fighters on this coincidental list coincidentally happen to look the same way, have the same skin tone, and they're all treated the same way. This shit cannot just all be a coincidence, and that's the reason why I coined the term the coincidental list. So this guy, he kept going on telling me like, yeah, man, I don't understand it. If you're a boxing fan, what Rigo does is beautiful, etc., etc., etc. And, you know, I thought about all of the hate that fighters on a coincidental list receive. Of course, the majority of that hate, it comes through the internet, because once again, I tell you guys all the time, the internet is a confession booth. The internet is one of the rare places where you can say whatever you feel and remain anonymous, right? You don't have to deal with the repercussions of somebody beating your ass or someone calling you a racist or an idiot, a jerk, because, you know, you got these fake profile names and you could say whatever the hell you want to say. No one knows who you are, right? But anyway, as this guy was telling me all this stuff, I was saying to him, you know, I don't ever take what decals and, you know, the racist decals on the internet, what they say serious. The reason why I don't take it serious is because what I've learned from being a reporter is 95% of every well-known boxer or trainer who actually does this for a living, they're either inside of the ring as a boxer or they're training a boxer. At least 95% of them, when they talk about fighters like Guillermo Rigondeaux, Andre Ward, everything that they say is congruent with what you guys hear me say. You never hear well-known professional boxers and trainers, not too many. I mean, don't get me wrong. You know, you're going to have a small, tiny percentage of decals everywhere. But when we look at the stats, you're looking at least 90 to 95% of professional boxers and trainers saying pretty much the exact same things you hear me say. Why? Because they are looking at things from the perspective of an actual boxer. Because they're looking at Guillermo Rigondeaux do things that they want to learn or they want to teach their fighters, right? And let me tell you something. I'm one of the rare people that can really practice what I preach because of the fact that I not only report boxing and cover boxing as a full-time gig, but I also train my son, who is a 4-time state champion and a 2-time national champion. And I've been training him out of diapers, okay? And for you guys that have been asking, we will be back in the gym. My son, he took off a good 2 months, and realistically, he's never took that much time off in his whole amateur career. So we should be back training hard. We've been training at the house, and I'm about to start putting him back in the ring to do some sparring probably the end of next week, or at least within the next 2 weeks. But yeah, with that being said, the reason why I say that is because, once again, if you're not looking at things from a biased-ass emotional perspective, and you are actually looking at things from an intelligent boxer's perspective or an intelligent boxing fan's perspective, then you are going to look at the way Guillermo Rigondeaux uses this perfect ring generalship, stands right in front of you and avoids punches like the Matrix, avoids bullets, sees punches coming in slow motion, can break your jaw with just one punch, how he uses his angles, how he sets you up, he gives you different looks, coming high, coming low. He can fight on the outside, fight on the inside, on the back foot, on the front foot, etc., etc., etc. And on top of all of that, having one of the highest knockout ratios in the sport of boxing, and has knocked out 3 of his last 4 opponents. When you hear someone, the only thing they say is personal. When they say, oh, I don't like, oh, he's boring, oh, he's this and he's so boring, etc., etc. Even after Guillermo Rigondeaux fought against the giant Amagaza in Japan, and that was candidate of Fight of the Year, Guillermo Rigondeaux actually got knocked down. He went toe-to-toe with this guy and stopped this dude who was damn near 5'11", towering over Guillermo Rigondeaux. Not only was he much taller than Guillermo Rigondeaux, but he was naturally in a higher weight class. He just came down in weight so that he can take advantage of this opportunity to fight against Rigo. And with all those advantages, this man still got the brakes beat off of him. I remember I was at some fight, and this was right after Guillermo Rigondeaux. He had just got 2 knockouts back to back. Rigo had 2 knockouts back to back. And I was talking to some decaf, and he was like, yeah, man, that Guillermo Rigo, man, he's just boring, man. He's just boring. It's like he kept saying he was boring. And as he said that, I said, but you know he just got 2 knockouts back to back, and he has one of the highest knockout ratios, right? And you know almost everyone that he's faced, if he didn't knock them out, he at least knocked them down. You know that, right? And this man, it was like he was programmed to say it no matter what I would say, like he was just some kind of robot, a machine or something. He would just keep coming back like, yeah, man, but he's boring though, but he's boring. And I said, did you just hear what I said? He just got 2 knockouts in a row. Yeah, I know, man, but the guy is just boring. He's boring, right? The reason why they do this is because these are code words that they have to stick by. Once again, when a person is full of hate, they have to have some reason to hate. Because if they have no reason to hate, then they would have to point at themselves. They would have to look at themselves in the mirror. Then they would have to admit, I'm the problem. Rigo is not the problem. I'm the problem. And that's how hate works. Because a racist person feels guilty that he's racist. So he has to convince himself why he doesn't like this person or all of these people that coincidentally all look the same, right? So they say he's boring. And even when he keeps getting knockouts, Rigo can get 5 knockouts in a row and they will still say he's boring. We know that to be the case because, like I just said, Rigo, he just got 3 knockouts in his last 4 fights, and the same fans who hated him before, they hate him now. So what does that tell you? That tells you it had nothing to do with how this man fights, right? Let me give you a perfect example because I've been in that situation where I was criticizing. Let's talk about Adonis Stevenson. I did my post-fight video on Adonis Stevenson knocking out Thomas Williams, and I actually did some live commentary while I was watching the fight. You can check out the video, it's still up. Now, by the second round, I was criticizing Adonis heavily because I kept noticing that Adonis looked uncomfortable on the inside. Every time Williams got on the inside and let his hands go, all Adonis would do is just hold his hands up. He looked like a fish out of water, and I kept saying that in the video. I said, Adonis, he has no inside game, and regardless if Williams wins or loses this fight, Williams is doing a great job exposing Adonis's flaws. This is what I was saying by the second round. Then all of a sudden, Adonis surprised and shocked the shit out of me. What did he do? Adonis, he started fighting on the inside by around the end of the 4th or the end of the 3rd round. Next thing you know, I see Adonis doing exactly what I said he needed to do. Not only is Adonis doing it, but he's doing it better than the inside fighter, power puncher, Thomas Williams. Long story short, Adonis ends up walking this man down on the inside with vicious body shots and uppercuts. And eventually, he knocks Thomas Williams the fuck out. So, from the second round, tough criticism to high praise, right? Because Adonis Williams, he gave me what I wanted to see. Now, how would it have looked or sound if I were to say, even after Adonis did what I thought he couldn't do, I still say, oh, you know what? This man Adonis is still overrated. He's an overrated fighter. He has no inside game. I would look stupid, right? Because if anyone was listening to what I just said, they were like, but Dante, he just showed you he has an inside game. That's what people would say, right? This is exactly what decavs do with Guillermo Rigondeaux. They stick with the same talking points because it's therapeutic for them. Because if you already made it up in your mind, you personally don't like someone, then it's nothing that person can do to change your mind. And then when they make these excuses, the excuses are so lame, right? You'll have one of these fans, they will hate the shit out of Guillermo Rigondeaux. And then when you ask them, why do you dislike him so much? Because he's boring, that's why. That's the reason why you hate this man? Because he's boring? That doesn't even make any sense. Miguel Vasquez is not the most exciting fighter, but I never thought to hate the man. I'm not a big fan of Vladimir Klitschko's jab and grab style, but I don't hate him. Personally hating someone and criticizing them for being boring, those are two totally different things. When you hate someone, you usually hate someone for doing something to you personally, right? Or saying something about you personally. You might say, I hate Donald Trump because of what he said about my race, because he wants to build a wall and keep my people, my parents, my, relatives out of the country, right? That's more of a logical reason to dislike someone. But to say you hate someone because they are boring to you, that is what you call a cover-up. They do the same thing with Andre Ward. I hate him. He's an inactive bitch. I've had comments, and you guys that follow my channel, you've probably already seen the videos that I dropped. I had a video that I titled, Andre Ward is an inactive bum bitch. End quote. Because that's what one of the decafs called Andre Ward in my comment section. What does Andre Ward being inactive have to do with you not liking him? When Mikey Garcia was inactive, did you call him an inactive bum bitch? Of course you didn't. What a coincidence, right? Could it possibly be because he ain't on the coincidental list and on the hope list? Of course that's the reason. These are code words, guys. Because the obvious translation is they want to call these black fighters something that they know they can't get away with. Because if they call these black fighters what they really want to call them, then they get exposed as a flat-out racist. So once again, they try to keep it politically correct, right? We can't call them the N-word like we want to call them, so let's call them demographics. Let's call them boring. Let's call them cheaters, juicers, steroid cheaters. And the list just goes on and on and on. But going back to the one code word, boring. This is how you know that the hate is way off the charts. Okay, for example, let's say you really do think that this fighter is boring, right? You think that he's boring, you don't like his style. That's you, all right? Now that has nothing to do with how I feel, but that's how you feel. So if you believe that this guy is boring, and I tell you, I actually like this guy, this is one of my favorite fighters. Matter of fact, in the boxing gym, we study his moves all the time. I love watching this guy's fights. Matter of fact, I can't wait until he fights again. Do you know when he's gonna fight again? Now, after you just told me that he was boring, when you say he's boring, that doesn't anger me. But when I tell you that I totally disagree with you and I prefer to watch Guillermo Rigondeaux fight over this fighter or that fighter, matter of fact, we study this guy's moves in the gym, etc., etc., etc. Now, if you tell me that he's boring and I tell you I disagree with you, why would you get upset with the person who tells you he disagrees with you? This is how you know it's personal. If me and you are at a restaurant, right, and you tell me that you don't like seafood, and I tell you I like seafood, are you gonna now tell me that I'm one of your enemies because I'm guilty by association with the food that you don't like? This is what these decafs do. Saying that someone is boring, it really has nothing to do with boxing. It really doesn't. I mean, once again, for you, you can personally say you don't like that guy. But my question to you is, can you find someone that can beat him? I don't care if you don't like him. Can you find someone to beat him, right? For example, if I came to you and I told you, man, I hate Guillermo Rigondeaux more than you do, man, I would pay you money to find someone to beat the shit out of him. Whoop his ass. I want it done in the ring. I want somebody in his division to beat the shit out of him. If I paid you money to get someone to beat him up, can you do that for me? You know what that motherfucking decaf is gonna say? He gonna say, no, I can't find nobody, but you know what, I can tell you that he's boring. He's boring? What the fuck does boring do for me? I told you I wanted someone to beat his ass. I don't give a damn about him being boring. I want his boring ass whooped. Can you do it for me, yes or no? No, I can't find anyone. He's a little too good to be beat. But, you know, I could probably, you know, have someone send some tweets to his Twitter and they can call him like a boring bitch or something like that. Now, how the hell is that helping me? I don't know. Exactly. So you calling him boring, it doesn't mean a goddamn thing. Can you beat him? Can you name some multiple fighters that can beat him? Telling me you don't like him does nothing for me. Right? That's like if Hitler was trying to conquer the entire world like he did before, and you sit over here and you tell me, well, we can't stop him from conquering the world, but I could tell you that motherfucker don't know how to dress, and his speeches are corny, and he got a whack-ass mustache. What does that do for me? We're trying to stop this man from conquering the world. I mean, do you guys understand the point that I'm making here? This is how ignorant these decafs think. Something else I want to touch on. You know, I tell you all the time, I practice what I preach. A lot of these decafs I see in the comment section, they'll always try to flip it on you. Very deceptive. They'll always try to flip shit. They'll be the most racist fans in the world, and they'll flip it and try to call you racist, right? But what you will notice with the real racist fans is they never have anything positive to say about a fighter on the coincidental list, a black fighter. When that black fighter is going up against a non-black fighter, they never have anything positive to say about that black fighter. And if you ask them, show me a video, show me an old comment, show me an old article where you were actually defending a black fighter against a non-black fighter because you knew the difference from right and wrong. And at the time, you weren't looking at color, you were just looking at what was right and what was wrong. Show me a time where you did that. Because you know what? I practice what I preach. And I still have all of my videos up. I have the videos up when I was defending Gennady Golovkin when Golovkin was in the right. I have the videos up when I was praising Canelo Alvarez. I have the videos when I was criticizing Deontay Wilder when he was younger and coming up. I have the videos when I was criticizing Adonis Stevenson, when I was criticizing Jay Leon Love when he was undefeated, criticizing Danny Jacobs, etc., etc., etc. I have the documents. Where are your archives? Were you giving Andre Ward credit? Were you giving Floyd Mayweather credit? Guillermo Rigondeaux credit? Where's your articles? Where's your videos of you criticizing Gennady Golovkin for this reason or that reason? Criticizing Leo Santa Cruz for not fighting Guillermo Rigondeaux? Criticizing Carl Frampton for not fighting Guillermo Rigondeaux? Where is the balance at? Because I can prove mines. It's all documented. That's all I got for now. I'm on to the next one.
This is Bobby, and you're watching Dante's Boxing Nation.